Hello and welcome to our presentation titled The Stage is Our World, Effective Music and Art Collaboration in the World of Middle School. My name is Melissa Lentz.
And I'm Kate King. Melissa and I both teach here at St. William's School in Janesville, Wisconsin.
Kate, what's your favorite grade in middle school to teach?
I'm going to have to say 8th grade. 8th is my favorite. Plus, we've had them for so long. So
Yes.
Melissa and I both teach K through 8th grade. So 8th is the final year. I would have to say 8th. How about you?
Yeah. I kind of like 7th grade. I think it's fun to watch that transition from 6th to 8th grade. 7th grade is always a year of sort of metamorphosis with those kids. So middle school can be scary, but I've always found that it's just really the best place to watch these kids really grow and learn and come into their own as they grow up. So the purpose of our presentation today is to give everybody just sort of some tips and tricks on how to start a theater arts program. We've been blessed to be able to work together to create what we think is a very successful theater arts program in our small school. We don't have a huge music and art budget. we sorry,
What's
we
the
laugh.
budget?
That's a thing. And we've managed to be able to produce shows together that have really been good quality shows.
Mm-hmm.
And without it, draining all of our time as far as with Kate on board, I don't have to worry about creating backdrops like this because she can do that. And Kate doesn't have to worry about teaching the kids music or doing any sort of staging and things like that. So it's been really great.
And to springboard off what Melissa said, I think for me, one of the best things about this whole program is just to collaborate with somebody who you enjoy.
Uh-huh.
You may not have somebody in that role as an art teacher or as a music teacher, but maybe there's somebody in your school or your school community that you could collaborate with. And I think that just brings so much joy to the whole process. I really do. I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody.
Aw, thank you. I'll be there.
Now it's on camera.
That's great. I know. I'll hold you to it. Before we continue any further, I think we should start in an opening prayer before we move on. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Saint Cecilia, one thing we know for certain about you is that you became a heroic martyr in fidelity to your divine bridegroom. Inspire musicians to gladden the hearts of people by filling the air with God's gift of music and reminding them of the divine musician who created all beauty. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the word charism. We use God-given talents often with our kids. Charism is something that's like that, almost exactly like that. But with a charism, it is something that is a gift that's given to us by God. And we are called and responsible, actually, to share that gift with other people. So the purpose of a charism isn't to keep it to ourselves. The purpose of the charism is to share it with the world, to bring beauty to everybody's world, and use what you have in order to do that. It's really great to teach our kids about charism because what they will learn is that each person is given their own individual gift or charism. And we should not ever be jealous of that. We should rejoice in that. We should rejoice in the fact that there is somebody who is able to design costumes, or there is somebody who's able to sing, or there is somebody who is able to turn on the lights, someone who's able to take on a lead position, or someone who's able to be in the ensemble. It's important to teach our students that we cannot all be good at the same things. And I think that's really, it crosses over into their athletics, it crosses over into academics. Not everybody can be good at everything. So in that way, it's another way Kate and I work so well together is that I'm not going to get jealous because she can paint something or design something or make it look beautiful. I'm going to rejoice in that, and I'm going to ask her to always use that gift and share that gift with everybody so that we can collectively have a better show. So it's really important that you talk to your kids about charism, the importance of that.
Some of the real world benefits that start with this program, I'd have to say the main one and the big one, I think, is self-esteem. Self-esteem in middle school is It's tough. And this provides many students an opportunity who may have not had an opportunity before to shine. We have talked so many times and so many projects where we're like, where has this child been?
Absolutely.
This new leader, this new gift that's shining through that we haven't seen. And there's always a surprise. It's either a person who's just discovered that they're a leader or just discovered that this is their passion, and that's so invigorating as a teacher and as an advisor to see. So I think that above all is probably one of the best real world benefits of a project like this. Whether this is a musical or a play, whatever you decide to start with, I think self-esteem by far is probably one of the first benefits to hosting this kind of a project. Problem solving, group dynamics. This is probably one of the first opportunities where the greater the sum is more important than individual roles. And as an advisor, that is your role, to advise and to kind of direct. That takes planning. You can't just put a group together and think that they're going to succeed. So, we both do a lot of behind the scenes work in terms of planning, making those groups and steering them in the way that we kind of want them all ready to go, but giving them the choices of making some of those choices in the direction, maybe how it looks or where it's taking place, in terms of the set design and so forth, and problem solving. That is good for people, the students, to see even us problem solving, like coming up with, this isn't going to work, what else can we do? I think that's important for all students, but particularly middle school students, to see that we have problems too, and that we have problems that we need to solve, and that they work out. They may not be what we initially planned on, and sometimes they're better.
All the time. Sometimes, like, I try and teach the kids too, like, it's a safe space and we're here to kind of work together and be creative together. So it's okay if somebody's making a choice, if they make a really weird choice or a really different choice, to try and build on that. And a lot of times it's through all of that stuff that they discover how they really want to present the show. And that, like, it's really important that nobody's allowed to make fun of somebody for what they've done, that they can't laugh at them, that it's a really safe space for us to try out our creativity together. And so when we can model, like, oops, that wasn't the best thing, let's fix it, they can also do the same thing, that it is okay to make a mistake. The best part about it is that you get to fix it and do it better.
Right.
I think it's really awesome.
And you will probably find some people who are your leaders who are not leaders in other instances. So they may not be the leader in the athletic sport, or they may not be a leader in mathematics or English, but they take a leadership role here. And that is something that is so affirming to them, that I think it goes back, it ties in quite nicely with the self-esteem, that they haven't been a leader, but now they are a leader. And I think that as middle school students see this, because oftentimes our fifth graders are not in that role, so to speak. We usually use older students who are part of the cast and so forth. So I think it's nice that the younger middle school students can see the older middle school students take on those roles, and it's not usually the people who they had anticipated.
Yeah.
And I think that's great for them to see as well. The importance of creativity. I can't stress this enough. And I'm sure you hear it as well in whatever you teach. I can't do this. I can't paint. I can't sing. I don't like to speak in front of a camera. All those things.
Personal experience, maybe.
So, as advisors, as teachers, we need to show them opportunities where they can shine. The stage looks great. No one's going to be able to see it if the lights aren't on. They sing very well, but if the person did not turn on the speakers, nobody can hear very well. So it's important that you show them all the opportunities to be creative in a production. It doesn't have to be on the stage. It could be making sets. It could be coming up with costume designing. It could be helping us promote and market and come up with flyers and all of those different things that I think so many middle school students and students in general don't know all that goes into putting on a production and all the different ways to encourage creativity. It's also important to reinforce relevant skills. Um, what is important to a production to be successful and their role in that. Having said that, it's also good to have two people in a role so that not one person takes the onus
Yeah.
should something not go as planned.
Yeah.
We usually have more than one person in some of those roles. We like to break down our tasks. And for me, this is always a challenge because I'm a person who easily gets overwhelmed. Like, what? We have to do this by when? Really, Melissa?
Sorry.
And I think it's great that our students see that. I immediately are like, oh my goodness, but then let's break it down. And I think that's a great skill for middle schoolers to learn because high school's not far away. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. Overwhelmed with life, overwhelmed not just with a production that is in a couple weeks, but overwhelmed with, I have a lot to do. How are you going to manage? What are you going to start with? So learning that skill of breaking down into smaller tasks, I think, it kind of goes back to real life skills that can be used throughout their education and really throughout life. Time management. Yes, time management. We've always been under the wire.
Always.
Always. But it gets done.
Yeah.
It gets done. And again, I think that's also an important item for the middle schoolers to see too. That if you have to, you're going to work late. Sometimes that's what has to happen. Sometimes we get it all set up and we realize it doesn't work. And so right at the last minute, 2 days before the production, we're repainting something. That's something that I think that they need to see. I think that shows that if it comes to crunch time, you can be successful. Did I forget anything?
No, you didn't forget anything, but I'm going to talk a little bit too, off of all of that, the academic benefits of kids being involved in music theater, in arts, all of that stuff. There are fewer dropout rates among kids who are involved in theater. They have higher academic scores. They have higher GPAs. They do better on standardized tests, things like that. So studies have proven that not only is it good for real world skills, not to say academic skills aren't real world skills, but those are skills that we can see they're tangible when they're out in the job, in the workforce. Those are things they can see, but it's also going to help them be more responsible. It's going to keep them wanting to come back to school. It gives them something to do, something to belong to, a group to be a part of. And that's all very, very important. So we've always found that kids who are involved in theater are also on the honor roll, or also have scholarships to colleges and things like that. We've got a lot of kids who are going on to really great schools, and it shows when they get into high school. We hear a lot from the teachers at the high school that we feed into, that they know right away who the St. William kids are because of the way they behave, because of their maturity, their responsibility, and because of their grades, that they work really hard. So that's something that is also really important. That's a benefit of music theater.
I was going to talk about set design, but do you want to talk about how to choose a show before that?
Yeah, let's talk about that quick. How to choose a show. So here's the real nuts and bolts of the whole thing. You have to make sure that you have a cast. If you don't have a cast for a show, I would suggest waiting until you do. And that might be something that's hard to hear, but you want to make sure that you're producing something that's good quality work. Is it going to be Broadway? Probably not. But you still want it to be really great. You want it to be the best of your ability. So make sure that you have a cast of characters that you think you could put into a role of some sort. Take a look at your space. What is your performance space? We have lots of names for them. Gymatorium, we are currently in our gymatorium right now. I know it looks very, professional and wonderful, but just over there is a basketball court. So we have a gymatorium. Do you put on productions in your cafetorium? Okay, do you use your church to put on productions? Things like that. So you have to take a look at your production space and what do you have to work with, all right? It's always good to sort of start small, and we'll go into like some actual specific shows that are good for any type of budget like that. Speaking of budget, if you have low budget or no budget, I know when we first started off, I said, hey, our kids want to do a show. We had a great group of kids who are very talented, but we had no money. And I said, can we just get a few $100s just to purchase something? Your ticket sales will help to cover those costs, so you can always pay back wherever that money came from. And we used it as a fundraiser for our program. So when you use it as a fundraiser, more people are apt to show up. We get people from the parish who want to show up. All the families in our elementary school, they came out to do this. And we didn't try to make the tickets really expensive. We don't give away any free tickets even to parents. So all parents have to pay. I think we would have a discount for younger kids, or if you have a baby who's sitting on your lap, obviously we don't need them to purchase a ticket. So build the curriculum as though it's a fundraiser for your program, and you'll have so much support in that. Get your students on board right away. If your students are on board, the parents are going to be on board because they want their kids to shine. Parents want to give their kids every opportunity to achieve a really great goal. And I found that our parents have been amazing. When we get in those time crunch situations, like we've been painting the day of the show. I remember painting a pink candy boat for one of our productions, and it was like the paint was still wet and it was on stage with all of these kids. And it was fantastic. Like it worked because we had parents who were going to support us. Get the staff on board, your administration, who should be on board as long as they know it's going to benefit their school. You get to promote your school in a positive way, and you're going to be able to make some money and promote your program. And administrators really love to see stuff like that, and they too want to see the students in their school shine. It's really important.
I think one thing to mention that maybe you mentioned this was that we do multiple shows at different times. So because we wanted to have seniors come, but we also wanted to have families come who had younger students. So we did a matinee or a 4 o'clock show a couple times that worked really well. So not only multiple shows, but even different times on the same days.
Yeah.
Which I think really encouraged ticket sales.
Yeah.
Set design. Talk about set design.
Yes. Please.
So I think probably the first item to start with when it comes to set design is your space. What kind of space do you have? Do you have a stage? Do you not have a stage? I think the important aspect of whatever space you're using is to create an element of surprise. Are the kids, can they be behind something? Can they come in from a certain area? I think that's an important item to take care of and be aware of, and how to create that in the space that you're in. When we talk about set design with the kids, we always laugh because the kids are always like, let's have a chocolate river and real snow and people coming down from the ceiling, and it's like, whoa.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. No, we don't have a pulley, and we're not having real animals. And so their experience oftentimes is with mega, multi-million-dollar productions that they have seen in the movies or on TV, for the most part. I mean, some of them have been to they've been to art productions maybe, but many have not already attended a professional musical, I would say, for most of our students.
Most of them.
Most of them.
Yeah.
Their first experience is something that they've seen on the movies or on TV. So their idea of what can be accomplished and our idea of what can be accomplished are usually two very different things that need to come together. Having said that, when all the lights are down and the lights come on the stage, they're always like,
Yeah, they
it
think
looks
it's so
great.
cool.
And so that's exciting. But it's always kind of reining them in the first couple of weeks of what can actually be accomplished. So I guess my encouragement to you is to start small. Um, you know, don't try to do, you're not going to compete with some of these mega productions. And I don't think you should try to. I think that the students are just going to be so excited to be a part of this, um, and just all of that goes into it, that I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So set design ties in with budget. You know, what do you have to work with? We do a lot with actually plywood set designs, that we have some partitions that we can move around. I've painted them for multiple years. Other things that you can use that are really inexpensive is rigid foam board. They're like $30, $25 at like your Home Depot. The nice thing about that is that they're 4x8. It covers a big space, and they're super light. You don't even really need much to keep it upright. They can be painted. They can be hot glued. That is something that, and it can be stored or thrown away at the end of your production. It's completely up to you, but it's very versatile. You can cut it with a utility knife. That is something that we have used a lot in many different ways, I guess. Sometimes they're icebergs, you know, sometimes they're a castle. It's just a really nice material that's inexpensive, that takes up a lot of space, and very versatile when it comes to set design. Acknowledge how much money you have, or lack of money that you have. We use things over and over again from different productions that we've had. We recycle, we go to Goodwill, we ask our parents, we make a list of some of the things that we need for our set design. Christmas trees, or a wheelbarrow, or all kinds of things. We make a list of the things that we're going to need, and just kind of put feelers out there of, does anybody have this? Can we use this? Sometimes the parents will come in and help us do some of the set design, and we'll bring some of that staging, and then it disappears. I mean, they take it back, which is also nice, because then you don't have to store those items, which also goes hand in hand with some of the issues that we have in terms of what do you do when you're done. Or, you know, where do you store it? Where do you keep it? So if you can reuse something or borrow something, even from another production, that is awesome when it comes to set design.
Yeah.
Dr. Denham?
No, I don't think so. We also are very fortunate because we do have a good relationship with our high school theater, and they just started a performing arts academy. So we have often gone to them and just said, hey, do you have a bench? Do you have a table that we can use for production? Or we needed to set up like some countertops or whatever, or props. And they've been very generous. So it's really important to have a good relationship with any local theaters in the area or other high schools that put on productions, especially if your kids feed into that program. They want to see your kids do well, because then they're going to get them and they will also do well for them. And we've also, like, I've utilized my husband a few times. There have been a few productions when, like, our garage looks like a scene shop. So, you know, if you're lucky enough and you have someone like that who can just, you know, turn your life into a scene shop, that would be very beneficial as well. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because again, we've had parents just come out of the woodwork and pour out whatever we need. So, you know, it's just been really, really great.
And that's it's a great way to build community, when you can get some of the parents to come in and help us with some of the sets or the costuming. And I think costuming kind of ties right into the set design. When Melissa asked if I wanted to be a part of this, I said, I don't have an original thought in my head. I get everything off Pinterest, Amazon, Goodwill. Those are all places that we go to for our costumes. And, you know, there's been many times where we've used a hot glue gun and some pins on some people.
Yep.
You know, hot glued a dress onto a t-shirt that person then wears. You know, try to do as much as we can with as little money as possible.
And talent, because I don't sew, so I can't sew,
Right.
so I'm gonna glue. I'll hot glue anything. I mean, it works. It works just fine. Yes, Amazon has been really important in finding costumes. Goodwill is so great. Also, parents. You know, if I say, hey, will you be able to purchase this costume for your child? And they're always, yes, we can do that. We can do that. So please utilize your parents.
And this is where the art class actually comes in really well, because with the middle school students participating in the musical, many years we're using the art class to make some of the costumes. So every fifth grader made a wild beast headpiece. Um, we did all different kinds of set designs. We've made snowflakes, we've done backgrounds, we've made Christmas trees. That is a great tie-in. So even if like some of the students who may not have a role that's in front of people, this is where the art class comes in. So they're going to be collaborating. Maybe they're going to be making some of the set design. So you can use your time in the art room for all the middle school students, whether some of those different pieces are being done during your class um, or after school. But I do like to use my art class time period with those students to actually make some of these costumes. It may not be the costume that they're wearing, which I think also builds community, and it goes back to that working in a group setting. So that is just a great opportunity to help the production, use class time, do group work and problem solving. It's on budget, it's inexpensive, and it's just kind of feeds into the creativity. It also kind of feeds into the energy of the show. The kids just kind of feed on this energy. The closer and closer we get to the time of the production, when we go into some of those, when you're practicing with on the stage, with some of the sets, with some of the costuming, it's just really exciting time.
Yeah, it's really great. And we try to I like setting things out so that the elementary schools, the kids can see it, because they get to see it and they're like, oh, they're so excited. So they know to remind the mom and dad that they have to buy tickets for the show, and they get really excited. That also helps them be excited for the time when they get to be a part of the show. Like they're really, really interested in all of that. And you can build all of this stuff into your curriculum.
Yeah.
I don't know about when you talk with other art teachers. I know every time I've talked to other music teachers, we're always like, oh, but the performance takes like half of the year, and when do we actually get a chance to teach music and all of that? But you can work this into your curriculum so that you can grade everything that they're doing. You just might have to grade grade it in a different way. So obviously, if I have kids who aren't a lead character in it, I'm not going to grade their singing skills, but I have to build something else into it to give them that score that they can then earn and do. So it's really important, I think, to build it into their curriculum. It motivates them, it motivates parents, and it gives them, again, like just something else to think about in the world of music and art that goes beyond the presentation or beyond the performance of all of it, too. Do you have anything more to say about props and such?
I don't.
Okay.
I can't think of anything.
All right. Selling tickets. Let's get to that. Selling tickets. We ask that each family sells 10 tickets. Each family sells at least 10 tickets. They're going to probably sell more than 10 tickets. We don't give out any free tickets. We also don't send tickets home with the kids. We give them an order form. So when they have an order form, they fill it out. Then we give them the tickets, and they can distribute to the people who purchase the tickets. We've auctioned them off.
Oh, yeah.
Before.
So one way to increase your budget would be a couple of years ago. Can't remember, how long have we been doing it? We have been auctioning off the first 2 row seats of the performances for each night, and that has been a pretty good fundraiser for us. It's a silent auction. It's online. I think it's something our school purchases that we use throughout the year. So that has been a great, easy way to increase our budget. you're not really a part of it. I mean, I think they just kind of set it out there, and everybody just bids on it, and then there's a closing window. So that money is um, goes into the budget for next year, but this just gives you a little bit of a padding for money to work with at the beginning of your next production. Yeah, so auctioning off seats that's been a nice a fundraiser with very little effort.
Yeah, it works out really well. And the parents, they bid on those seats because they want
And
good
grandparents.
seats. Yeah, then they don't have to wait in line for an hour beforehand, so that they can sit down and do that.
Because our production, the chairs are on the gym floor, so we don't have seats that are numbered or rows, and the tickets that we sell are just it's open seating. So that's kind of the nice thing about auctioning off the first 2 rows. And I think we do it in sections, like 4 seats at a time. So because we don't have numbered seats and numbered rows, that allows us to auction off those seats. So it is open seating. So it is kind of first come first serve. So when they already have their tickets, they don't have to wait in line to get in, which is another benefit for many of the grandparents that hope to get a good seat.
Yeah, definitely. It's important too that you're promoting your production. You can promote it in the church bulletin, you can promote it in parent newsletters. If your school has a Facebook page, you can promote it on there, or your website, things like that. Kids can sell tickets after Mass, so that's a really great way to get your cast members out there. It gets everybody in church, and then your parish is also seeing the benefits of what they're doing, because parishes that have schools do have an obligation, a responsibility to help the school function. And I think it's always important that the parish is able to see that the school is doing things in the community, and they get to see kind of what their money is going towards. Also, it's a form of entertainment for them. They want to come and see the kids here and do well and perform and things like that. So make sure that you're promoting. Talk to, make an appointment with the Education Commission, or with the parish council, or the finance committee. So if you make friends with all of those people, you're going to be more apt to get all their support as well, and quite possibly even some more donations for your program. So it's always a good thing to network and just make sure that you're putting that out there for everybody in your parish and school community.
Are we forgetting anything? I can't.
Tips and tricks.
Oh.
Other fun ideas.
Oh, those
tips and tricks, little things that'll be really useful for you, and also just extra special. So we try and do a bio board for each kid. So every kid has to have a headshot, and then they write a little bit about themselves. That'll be we can put something in the newsletter with each one, like a cast member of the week or something. We have that set out where people are standing in line, so they can read the bio board while they're in line for tickets. Get parents involved. We've talked a little bit about that, getting them involved in set painting and stuff like that. How does it work when you have a lot of people? Like, how do you schedule that so you don't have so many people here?
Oh, yes. So when it comes time to painting and creating the sets, I have a permission slip that the kids need to take home and fill out with some numbers on there, and also the days and times that they're available. So a lot of the times we are working on the sets after school until maybe 5 or 5:30, and then I have the students fill out what days they can attend. It's all about planning. You really have to be prepared and have everything all ready to go before you have students coming in to help paint the set. Otherwise it can go AWire kind of quickly. So I make a calendar of who's going to be working and at what time, and I have it Monday through Thursday, and send the calendar out. So if you signed up and you told me your student can come, I usually limit it to 4 to 6 students at a time, depending upon how much needs to get painted and done, only because that works the best for me. I can't have too many people with paint in their hands.
No.
So the closer we get to the production, I will increase those numbers, but I have it kind of planned out so that I know what students can come and on what days, and that their parents know also, because they usually have to get picked up at a different time. And then they let me know if there is a hang up or a change in plans, and then I can slide somebody else into that spot. I work with very small groups of students. I try to get all of the middle schoolers who want to work on the set design. I always give them opportunities. Each one will have an opportunity, but they won't all be at the same time on the same day. I work with a really small group, 4 to 6 people each night after school. And I think that just kind of works best for the way that I work, and keeping them busy. Like I want them to be working on something. It's for 2 hours, and so they can get a lot done in 2 hours, but at the same time, it also creates work for you. Like you have to have whatever they're going to be painting or whatever they're going to be doing, that has to be ready to go. You can't, be trying to work something out in your head and having them just kind of hanging out waiting for direction. So when they come in, I already have it set up, designed who's going to be working on what and with what paint and what we hope to look like. I have sketches done ahead of time, so we kind of have an idea of, oh, it needs to, this is the castle, and we want, the Alps in the back, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's a good. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah,
I forgot.
absolutely. Yep. We also, so when we do these productions, it includes 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's just how our middle school is set up, is 5th through 8th. So thinking about like whatever your school situation is, we do 5th grade as your ensemble. So 5th grade does not get to audition. They don't get to audition for any special parts. Maybe if there's an opportunity where you need a few more people on stage, you can get like your best behaved 5th graders, or the ones that you think are going to really do a good job for next year, kids that you're sort of grooming to be a part of the productions for the next coming years. You can put them on stage to give them a job, but typically 5th grade stays off the stage. You can costume them because they want to be costumed, but they don't get to be a lead character, or they do not get to audition. This does two things. Number one, it makes them really, really want to audition next year, which is really great. But it also fills in your ensemble, because if you have, your top lead singers are in lead roles, then who do you have to sing the ensemble pieces? There aren't too many people left. So 5th grade usually fills in the ensemble. If you've got a great 4th grade, you could go down to that level, but I would keep it 5th grade on up, because again, those younger students are going to be the ones who are going to purchase tickets for the show. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, they are allowed to audition. We let 8th grade have the option of how they participate. So 8th grade is the only class that gets to say, I don't want to be on stage. What else can I do? And that's where the art program comes in really well, because I can say, are you working with Mrs. King to get the set painted, or are you working on props? And that's how they're doing that. We need somebody to run the lights. So I'll put a couple kids in charge of getting the stage lights going. We need people backstage to help move furniture and move our flats and help costume and everything. So we've got a ton of kids who really want to do that. So we save that as an 8th grade privilege. That also gives them something to look forward to. Then when they're in 6th and 7th grade too, they understand that once they're in 8th grade, they have that privilege. So that 6th and 7th grade, they just do the performance, and they're fairly happy with that most of the time. Not all kids want to be in front of everybody. Like
Right.
we try to respect that as much as possible. So then whoever isn't a lead character is in the ensemble. So then we'll have an ensemble that's a mixture of 5th grade, 6th, 7th grade, and maybe a few 8th graders, whoever doesn't want to hang out backstage. So that's something that's really, really important.
Do you want to talk about the other thing that we do on the nights or days of the production? We usually have all of the students come early, and we eat together as a way to make sure that everyone's here on time, because it's usually an hour or two before the actual production, so that we don't have to worry about a parent getting them or some kind of snafu. Everyone is here and accounted for an hour or two before the actual production. And so we will have parents kind of plan, subs or salads or sandwiches or pizza or whatever right before the actual production. So maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before. And that also allows all the costuming and hair and makeup. It allows you time for that, but it also allows like the ensemble to be here on time as well. So you are not dealing with students missing right before the show.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever had that problem.
No.
I don't think we've ever had that
That's
problem.
because we've always fed
Because
them.
we've always like, you're not leaving. You're gonna stay right here. We have them here. Also, get your parents on board as far as makeup and hair. Like if you have a parent who's really good at makeup or really good at doing hair, get her involved in doing that kind of thing with the kids. So we've got lots of parents who are good at those things. They like doing those things. So we've done that for productions before and had just really great success with someone who is really interested in doing hair and makeup. And then again, you have them here. You have control in how that's going to look if you're not putting a wig on a child or something like that. So that's really kind of a nice thing to do too with your parents. Anything else? Suggestions of shows?
Oh, yeah.
Suggestions
Yeah.
of shows.
That kind of ties into budget, in terms of budget
Yeah.
and students
Yeah.
and what you have to work with.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? I mean.
Yeah. One of the so look for shows that are, if you are just starting out and you have a low budget, not a ton of resources. I know we've done, the first show I had ever done was Godspell. So Godspell is one where you have one set. The costumes can be anything, and they can, you need a lot of props for that one, but the kids can find the props. The kids can do a lot of that stuff. Another one we've done is Dear Edwina is one that's just one set. You don't have to change a lot of sets. You paint one background. It's the set is in a garage, so it's all you need is a garage. Junie B. Jones,
Oh, yeah.
that was one that the kids, it's not a heavy costume show. The kids had to dress up like first graders. And most of the set was always in a school. So, it was just a matter of, are we in a classroom? Are we in a lunchroom? Are we on the bus? Things like that. And be creative with making a bus. Like we didn't actually have a
Right.
bus, did we? We
No, we had that cardboard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we put the chairs in
Yeah.
the shape of a bus, and and it was really
It was.
really
And we
great.
just took a bunch of stuff off the actual classrooms in our school.
Yeah, right. I think we went to kindergarten
Yeah.
and said, "Are you using
Yeah.
a bulletin
I really
board?"
need this calendar.
Yep. Just for like a week, promise. So yeah,
That's actually a good one. That would be a good one to start. That was very low budget
It
in
was,
terms of
yeah.
materials
Yep,
needed.
and it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Somewhere in the middle ground that's gonna take a little bit more planning. Schoolhouse Rock. It's a fairly easy show, pretty easy on the costuming, but there's a lot of prop work in Schoolhouse Rock, that you have to really think about. Willy Wonka is one that I might consider that one in the next bracket up. That one has a lot of costumes. You have to have like specific costumes, specific set design on that one. High School Musical is one where there's a lot of different scenes in that one too. But again, that's not costume specific. They can just dress like regular high school kids. When you get into other productions such as Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Little Mermaid, those are your productions that are going to be higher budget and more costume specific, so it's going to cost more money to get some of those costumes. What's another one that we've done? Currently Frozen, that is also has some specific costuming that needs to be done. So think about that as you're researching your musicals and plays to do. Think about what is going to be involved. If it's something that you need to do a lot of scene changes, and this is your first production, I would suggest you stay away from that and do something that's just very simple, one scene, and that's really it. If you don't have kids who are musically inclined, we did a production of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. That was a blast, and we tied it in with Christmas. We did. We had a ham dinner for anybody who wanted to come. We did a basket raffle and raised money for, I think, a homeless family during that. But we did that, and then after our guests ate dinner, they came up here, and we did the production, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and it was just really fantastic. So There's something out there for every situation. Please don't think that, oh, we're a small school, we can't do it, or oh, I don't have a budget, we can't do it. There's always a way. If you have kids who are interested, and if you are interested in doing it, do not let anything stop you, because it has the potential. It might take a few years, but it has the potential to grow into something really beautiful. And you're going to work harder, you're going to work differently than you had before. Throw away any thought of thinking, oh, we'll do it every other year, because that's what I thought I was going to do. And then everybody was like, oh, but they're so great and the kids really like it. And so then we started doing them every year, and it's just, it's been huge benefit to the school. Our younger kids look forward to being able to perform in these productions. So, I haven't found too many negatives to it at all.
No, usually the week after the performance, when Melissa and I are exhausted, the kids will be like, "What are we doing next year?"
Oh, they're already like, "What are we doing next year?" I'm like, I don't want to think about what we're doing next year.
But that's just a great sign that they're looking forward to it. They're encouraged by that. They're excited about it.
Yeah.
And I just think that what we want to share with you is that we want to encourage you. I mean, if this is something you haven't done, please try it. I mean, like I said, I don't really have an original thought in my head. I get so much of my ideas off Pinterest or seeing professional scenes and trying to think, well, how can I, what's important in that, and how can I kind of duplicate that with $25 I have in my wallet,
Right.
Things like that. So I guess why we were so inclined to make this presentation and to share with you our collaboration is that we enjoy it. We think that you can do it, and that it's inspiring for the kids, but it's also inspiring for us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I am always inspired each year by Melissa and by the students and by the parent support.
I know. I usually break down, especially that
I'll
last
just do that
performance. I know, right? I know. It's usually, and the kids always like when they're doing like their last song and their bows and everything like that. I'm generally on the floor bawling, because I'm so incredibly proud of everything, and the whole production of Kate and everything that we do is just like.
And we've had them since kindergarten.
Awesome. We've had them since kindergarten, so we know them really well. I know. We watch them grow up, and it's just so fantastic. So we really hope that you take that leap and start a theater arts program in your middle school. And good luck if you decide to do all of that. We'll be praying for you.
Yes.
We will have slides that you leave our email addresses on, so you can try and get a hold of us if you have any questions or any thoughts or things that you would like to share with us. We would love to hear from you. Closing prayer?
Yes.
Okay. All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear St. Catherine of Bologna, so rich in love for Jesus and Mary, you are endowed with great talents by God, and you left us most inspiring writings and paintings for wondrous beauty. You did all for God's greater glory, and in this you are a model for all. Make artists learn lessons from you and use their talents to the full. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Good luck.